Hello, my name is Megan. I'm with Inkredible Techniques and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I wanted to share with you how to make this friendship card. There's a little bit of sun peeking through these windows, so hopefully it's not too bright and you can see this, but if not, you see how that glimmer there? That's Wink of Stella. And then I also have the inside of the card that we did and decorated, and we decorated the envelope and embossed the envelope flap. So I've got lots of good fun stuff to show you today. And again, this is using the Beauty Abounds stamp set. This is in the Occasions catalog that just came out in January, and you can order through the occasion. You can order in the Occasions catalog through May. You want to grab this while you can. Some of these items in Celebration and Occasions, they're not guaranteed to not sell out. So if you see something you like, I recommend you grab it. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please click that big red button and hit the bell icon next to it after you hit the subscribe, and then you'll get notified every time I have a new video up. I typically post at least a video a week, so hopefully you'll be back next week and share a few minutes with me. Without further ado, let's turn the camera down and let's get started on today's project. Okay, so again, today we're making this friendship card, and it says our friendship isn't one big thing. It's a million little things, and that's so true. I've got the little butterflies and the flowers here. I've got bling. I've got so many fun things today. We're using the stamp set called Beauty Abounds. It has really good sayings for friendship. There is a thanks in here, so you can make a thank you card out of it. Just really good images, lots of fun. And it is from the Occasions catalog. Beauty Abounds stamp set is in the Occasions catalog, and if you don't have a copy of this, if you're here in the United States, feel free to email me or comments below, reach out to me and let me know if you do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I would love to be yours. I'd be happy to send you a copy of the catalog, both the Occasions and the Celebration catalog. But let's just first talk about this Occasion catalog. And there are so many goodies in here, but this is the one from today's set, again called Beauty Abounds. It's on page 13, and it also has a coordinating thinlits dies that have butterflies, and just I'll be making more cards with this, so stay tuned. A really great set, and the bundle, if you buy the bundle of the stamp set and the framelits at the same time, you use this code right here, the item number, and you save 10% when you buy them both together. And then here are some samples of the cards that they've made in the catalog, but again, we've got some really fun ones coming up for you. Anyway, again, if you place a $50 order or more, you get the option of choosing an item from the Celebration catalog. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started on today's card. I have gone ahead also, and not only did I stamp the inside of this card, but I also stamped my envelope. So isn't it fun? And I also embossed the envelope flap as well. Okay, so all the products that I've used in the supply list will be in the description below, as well as all the cutting dimensions. There's really not a whole lot of cutting on this. We're going to start with a little bit of stamping. In this particular case, this is a Night of Navy, and I'm going to be stamping this sentiment and cutting it out. So this is stamped in Versamark, which is a clear ink, and then we use white embossing powder and our heat tool to set it. If you had white craft ink, you could try that as well, but my preference is the white embossing powder. It just seems to give a better image in my opinion. So that's what I like to use, but you could try either. So I'm going to grab my Versamark, and it's really important when you're using embossing powder to go ahead and use what we call the embossing buddy. This is just like a little pad that's filled with some sort of like baby powder or cornstarch or something like that, but you definitely want to use that because we've got oils and things like that in our hands, and if you don't use this first, you'll have embossing powder sticking to places in the cardstock that you don't want. So that's first step, and I'm going to go ahead and ink my stamp up, and again, this is a clear ink, so when I stamp it on the cardstock, you won't necessarily see it. I'm just going to stamp that down. Whoop, came off my block, but that's okay. Let's set that aside. And then I just keep my embossing powder in this container. And I forgot to grab a spoon, and this is such a small sentiment that I think I can just kind of scoop some powder on here and gently, carefully. See what I mean about, there's even some embossing powder there that's stuck. It happens sometimes, even with the embossing powder, it happened. So I'll show you a little trick for that. Luckily, that looks like I probably got some edges of the stamp that had the ink on it. That happens if you don't. When you stamp, it's best to just take your stamp and go straight down and straight up. If you rock it at all, sometimes you get these little blemishes. But luckily this one's on the bottom, and I can just take this little tiny paintbrush and I'm just going to wipe that away and then do that again. Being very careful not to get the words. So there's just a little tiny blemish there, but all right, I think that's as good as we're gonna get. So then I can grab my heat tool. It's 20 degrees outside, so it takes a while for the heat tool to want to kind of heat up. I did heat it up actually before I started this, but it's so cold that it cooled down too quickly. Okay, so then I'm going to take my stitch framelits, and I'm using not the third one, I'm using the next to the last smallest. So not the smallest one, but the next one up. And I'm going to take my Big Shot out, and we're going to cut this out. Okay, so I've got my cardstock here. I've got my stitch shaped. I'm just going to lay that where I want it. Lay my other clear plate on top and crank it through the Big Shot. I'm sorry my table shakes a little bit when I do this. Okay, so now we have our stitched shape sentiment there. I'm going to just get some of that powder off of it. While I have the Big Shot out, I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my embossing. So I want to emboss the flap of this envelope. We'll do that first. And to do that, I'm using this tufted embossing folder. I'm going to grab my envelope, and I just want to emboss the flap. So to do that, well, first of all, I got to get rid of my magnetic plate and bring in the other platform, because this tufted embossing folder is one of the dynamic embossing folders. So it is thicker, and you only need one clear plate when you're doing this. So I've got my platform on tab 1. I've got my embossing folder here, and I just want the flap. So I'm going to put the flap inside, and I'm going to close it down, put my clear plate on top. Whoops, let me make sure I got that correct. And then run it through the Big Shot. Just crank the handle through. Okay, so now we're done with that, and we have our flap. That's so pretty. So we're going to do some stamping, and then we'll come back to the Big Shot in a moment. The stamping we have to do is really simple. So here I have my outside layer, and again, the dimensions will be in the description below. I'm going to stamp my first stamp in Night of Navy, and then I am going to just kind of, I should have grabbed a piece of scrap paper here. I'll use a piece that I already had. Just place that under it just in case it's going to run off a little bit. So I'll show you why in a moment. I'm going to do it right about there. And then I'm going to go ahead and ink it up again, move my scrap paper over this way, and then I'm just going to catch this last little bit of that goes off there. So we're done with that. Then I'm going to grab, I've got 2 butterfly stamps in this set, and I'm going to grab the larger one, and I'm going to first stamp it kind of not exactly in the center of my cardstock. And then the smaller butterfly, I'm going to angle him once there, and then I'll stamp him again right about there. Okay, so that's all the stamping we need for the outside panel. But while I have my stamps out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my envelope too. So for the envelope, I did use the larger butterfly, and I stamped him 3 times. And I just kind of randomly stamped in 3. There we go. So that's the envelope. You're done now with the envelope. And then we'll stamp the inside panel of our card. I have the inside sentiment for that. I ink that up as in Night of Navy as well. I'm going to stamp that towards, not quite in the middle of my card. You can put it wherever you want. Some people like it closer to the top, some like it more in the middle. I have variety. And then on this one, I just want to stamp this little edge. So again, I'm going to bring in this scrap as this little extra piece here as scrap. And I'm just going to lay it kind of in the corner and stamp. So you stamps off, it stamps off. So now that is the inside image of our card, except for I want to go ahead and do a little butterfly here too. So I'll do that in Mango Melody. That's the inside. We're now ready to run this layer through the Big Shot so that we get the nice embossed image. And to do that, again, I'm taking my embossing folder here, and you see there's this black line across the bottom. You can line that up with the bottom of your cardstock. But I decided I do want the image to be face down because I decided I want, it doesn't matter, you get an embossed side or a debossed side. And I'll show you the difference. On this card, it actually was the debossed side that was used, but on this card, I want to try to go for the embossed side, so where it pops out. So I'm going to grab my Big Shot again. And again, I only need 1 plate for this. I do need it on tab 1. So I'm grabbing my embossing folder, just 1 plate, and running it through. And sometimes you can go ahead and run it through twice if you want to make sure that it got a good image. Or a good impression, I should say, not an image. So we're done with the Big Shot. And now you see, so see the difference? This is the embossed side. So you have like these little dots that are sort of poking up in the paper. And this is the debossed side. So can you see the difference there? You have to let me know in the comments which one you like, embossed or debossed for the card front. Okay, so I have my card base, again, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. And I am going to do my layers now. I have a piece of ribbon, and this is the corduroy blue. Now, if you don't have this ribbon I believe is no longer available for purchase. So if you don't have this one, just substitute it. There's a Night of Navy twine. There's other options you could use. Just use what you have. And because this ribbon is kind of thicker and it's got a texture to it, and it's a little thicker. So I'm going to decide where I want my placement of it, and I'm just going to do one side at a time, but I'm just going to grab a little bit of Scotch tape to hold this ribbon in place. Usually when I'm using ribbon, I'll use a glue dot. However, since this ribbon does have, like I said, a little bit thicker and a little bit of texture, I find that Scotch tape is easier. It holds it better. So we'll just grab another piece of Scotch tape here and secure that down. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and actually on this one, because there is this corduroy, I think I'm going to pop this one up on dimensionals. And a tip about these dimensionals with the backings, if you have trouble peeling them off, you can just put your finger in the middle and kind of put a dent in it, and then the paper lifts off much more easily. So just a little quick tip there for you. And then we're going to adhere this to the front panel of our card, and I'm just centering, just eyeballing it, but centering it all the way around. I'm also going to put dimensionals on the back of the sentiment. I got one more piece there. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop that up right there. Now, I have Wink of Stella. This is the clear. And this will be hard for you to see on camera. But this, as I use this, this is the clear, and it just gives it kind of a glittery look. So I'm going to run this through each little butterfly. And as you see, because this is a water-based ink, when I use the Wink of Stella on this, it kind of spreads that color and then colors these butterflies in. And if you don't have the Wink of Stella, that's fine. It still looks beautiful without it, but I'm just doing this to give it a little extra shimmery. And I do sort of like the pop of color that happens when I color these butterflies in with the Wink of Stella. So yeah, I can let that dry a moment, and then I can come back and go back over it. The more layers you put, the more shiny, glimmery. It's like a very subtle glimmer or glittery, but it's not the type of glimmer or glitter that falls off on your hands or anything, so it's perfect. Okay, and I could also do that to the inside panel if I wanted. I'll do that there too. Give him a little bit of color, but I'm not going to do it on the envelopes. There, so we've got that. I'll go ahead and mount this inside panel to my interior card. And now we have the finishing touches that we want to put on it, which is our bling. We got to have some bling. I'm using my paper piercing mat tool here, but if you have the Pick Me Up tool, that works as well. You can use either one. I'm going to grab a couple of these smaller blings, and I'm just going to randomly place a few of them. I'm going to put one on here just to give that a little bling. I'm going to put one, yeah, maybe right about there. And then I'm going to do one kind of, whoops, do it this way over there. And then I think I'll do one more towards the bottom of my card, just right there. And there you have it. So even though there's a few steps with this card, it's really simple and it's fun and beautiful, and your friends will love it. Your friends will love, love, love it. Who doesn't need some happy mail, especially in January when it's like -35 in some places? Send your friends a warm greeting. They need it. So I hope you enjoyed today's project. If you did, please give me a thumbs up for the like. And if you have not already subscribed to my channel, I would love to invite you to do so. I love having you here. I try to post videos at least once a week. Feel free to leave me a comment in the video description. Well, not the description, but below the video description. You can leave a comment. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. If you do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator. And until next time, have an incredible day.